Hey guys, how you doing? My name is Masud. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I want to speak to you guys about how to deal with a shit educator on placement. Now, I just want to apologize for my use of profanity, but I'm not actually exaggerating. This does usually happen and is a problem that many physio students up and down the country face every time they go on placement, but it's not really openly discussed. It is amongst other physiotherapy students, and as a physio student, you don't really have much power in terms of your what your educator thinks of you or what you actually do on placement because you're just a student really, and so you're basically at the bottom of the food chain in the MDT team, the student, right? So anyway, um, so basically, you may have an educator who, now this isn't always the case, of course, and by the way, I just want to say first of all that most of the educators you get whilst you go on placement are actually really good clinicians in my experience. But of course, in anything in life, you will have anomalies or people who may not you may not get along with, or for example, educators who are not really present when you're there, and so you're just basically on your own on the ward. You're managing the ward on your own, which is not really ideal, but these sort of things happen, and they are very common. And so, what do you do in those sort of cases? Because you're trying to pass your placement, you're trying to learn as much as you can, but your educator is kind of, they're not really doing their job properly, and you don't really want to complain because you feel that there may be some tension. Some tension may arise between you and your educator, and then this may affect, what grade you get at the end of the placement because you're graded on your placement. Well, at least I was in my university. I know some universities have pass or fail, but anyway, so how do you actually deal with a crap educator on placement? Well, the first piece of advice I would give to you is, first of all, just try and get through it. Just try and do whatever it takes to pass the placement, because it's at the end of the day you are there to learn, and you're there to pick up as much knowledge as you can. And even if the physio that you're with, the educator that you're with, is not there, um, and my best advice is to just try and uh, get on with it, but at the same time try and be a little bit proactive and reach out to other health professionals and see what you can do, because I've had friends who've had placements where the educators weren't there, and so they've just been left alone for pretty much the whole placement, and they've kind of treated the placement as a tick box. It kind of is, just to get through the course, and so, which is kind of a shame because you're there to learn as much as you can in that area. Um, so yeah, first piece of advice would be to just try and do your best to get through it and do what you can to just complete the 5 weeks and get your grade, because yeah, that's my first piece of advice. Second, I would say is, if you don't get along with your educator, don't stay alone. Don't not talk to anyone about it. Talk to your physio student colleagues, or speak to your lecturer at uni, who's probably your best, like, yeah, your best bet to sort of resolve the situation. Um, yeah, sometimes they won't really, the lecturers are not really there to help. Well, they are there to help, but they're basically there um, to just make the situation good and equalize it, if you know what I mean. So they're not really gonna, well, in my experience, they're not really gonna um, uh, give you an advantage or anything like that. But it's definitely worth a try. Third piece of advice I would say is, try and get along with the team on the placement, because ultimately how good you get along with the team, the other physios or the other health professionals, they all affect, in somewhat they all affect your grade as well, because they feed back to that physio. And so I know how much of a little pain, how much of a pain it is sometimes to have a physio who runs on the opinions or the subjective, observations of other health professionals who may not have even been there to see you treat a patient or to see you do a good treatment on a patient, and so you get a little bit frustrated. But don't worry. So my advice is basically just to, yeah, just try and be nice to everyone. Speak good about everyone. Be polite, because you're only there for 5 weeks, and those 5 weeks fly by. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. This sort of thing does usually happen, and if it does happen to you, well, that's quite unfortunate. But out of 6 placements, I'm not gonna say you're guaranteed to get one like bad placement, but you should expect it because with good, there's always bad. Anyway, yeah, I hope that made sense. But I hope you enjoyed this video and you took something from it. Hope it helps you out. If you are having any problems with your placement, make sure to speak to your uni about it. They are probably the best people to speak to. But if you had any other questions or if you're going through a shit placement, leave down in the comments, what you did to get through it, just so to help anyone else going through the same thing. Other than that, I'm going to catch you guys later. I hope you have a nice day. Thank you.